So, welcome and thank you for joining us for our Monday Spotlight session. It's so good to have you here and for you to be able to join me on this chat about active listening and how we can utilize active listening for self expansion, for inner strength, and really to simplify things in our life. So, this is our weekly check in. And today we're going to be diving into something that is deceptively simple, but can be deeply transformative. And these spotlight sessions are part of our regular sneak peek of some of the personalized strategy sessions that we have on a weekly basis in our Mind Moments community. And we like to focus on how we can be open to change, how we can build our ability to just bounce back from setbacks with more ease. And my favorite is really on learning how to declutter our mental and emotional spaces. And active listening is one of those things that can really do that because it can give us a fresh perspective on what's going on around us, not just on how we communicate with others, but also on how we connect with ourselves. So, as we start our spotlight session, I would love to hear from those of you who are listening. Feel free to comment in the chat or in the comments. And what's one thing that you think makes someone a good listener? Let me know what you think in the chats. What makes someone a good listener? All right, so write that down. I'm going to see and tell you just a little bit about what active listening is if you're not familiar with that term. And when we talk about active listening, we are not talking about just having a conversation with someone, putting your phone down and just, paying attention to them, but it really is our ability to engage in a conversation with someone else, both mentally and emotionally. So it's about being present, of course, with that other person, setting aside those distractions and really tuning into what they're saying. And by that, I mean their words, their tone, their body language. Um, those are some ways that we can become active listeners. But sometimes we kind of focus more on, being present as just listening, you know. Um, and I think also doing things, creating things, achieving things. Doing all those is what we often think of as our self expansion journey, not so much on the quiet parts of ourselves and the growth that comes when we can just pause and listen. And we talk about that a lot in the self expansion realm, listening to ourselves, listening to our inner voice, listening to um, what God has for us, but doing the same thing when it talks about others, listening to others. And so I want you to think for a minute. When was the last time you felt truly heard by someone? Something that really you said, I felt really good. You might not have even verbalized it, but how did it make you feel when you felt really heard and listened to? I'd like to hear about it in the comments. Let me know. And so let's talk now. Why does listening matter? Active listening. Why does that matter for our own self expansion? Like, here's the thing, when we actively listen, we create a space not just for the other person, but also for ourselves. We create like an environment, that's dynamic and compassionate. And we're able to show compassion. We can be empathetic. We can demonstrate some patience. It's really a way of building our inner strength because it challenges us to not only be present, but to not be reactive. And sometimes that part, the not being reactive part, is what trips us up when it comes to conversations and connections with other people. So, listening really has a way of helping us to tap into some of that more meaningful dialogue. And we're able to kind of quiet ourselves and listen to what we're thinking as we tune in to what the conversation is with the other people. So it's kind of like the art of being present. And this really helps us navigate challenges in life more than anything because we are more graceful with ourselves. And what I mean by that is offering more grace to ourselves and to our communication partner. In fact, you know, this active listening can make difficult conversations smoother because we're more in tune with what's really going on. And we're not just like on the surface listening and getting ready to, spill out what our agenda is or what we have to say about the subject. So I want to hear from you again. Let's try a little bit of self-reflection. I want you to think about a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being not very much, 10 being very much. How present do you feel you are during most conversations with people? Your typical conversations. On a scale of 1 to 10, how present do you feel you are in these conversations? And then think about it again with different conversation partners. How present are you when these people are talking to you? And then let's think now about our distractions when we're communicating with people or when we're listening to people. What are some of the biggest distractions that you face when you're in a conversation that you're just not naturally intrigued by? What is it that can distract you during those times? So let's focus now that we've kind of quantitated how our listening habits are. Let's think back about the simplicity theme, which I mentioned, making how active listening can really simplify our lives. First, when we're fully engaged, we can avoid misunderstandings. So, number one, avoid those misunderstandings. And if you want to, type that down in there. Misunderstandings. That is something we can avoid if we are actively listening and practicing this particular skill. And also, it can foster more meaningful relationships because the people that we listen to feel that understanding and they trust us more. And that helps because when you focus on these conversations with people, we learn to prioritize what truly matters. Relationships over distractions, connection over noise, and making them meaningful, super meaningful. And, this is one thing that I think when I've studied up on active listening, because it actually is something that you can learn more about, there's a lot of research out there. It helps us to streamline our own mental clutter because we're setting some things aside just so we can listen. And instead of worrying about what we're going to say next or what's going to happen after this chat that we're on here, we actually just set things down, let go of what's going on around you, and just listen, participate, and give yourself a little break, instead of being always on the go. So here's I've got two exercises I'm going to share with you. The first one is listening without interruptions. And this is could be hard to do, honestly. Um, so when you have the next conversation with someone, practice not interrupting. Just listen. And I remind myself sometimes if I know I'm going to be into a delicate discussion with someone I know ahead of time, then I remind myself to just listen, just listen. And, get away from that urge to jump in and just take a breath. When you feel like you want to say something, just take a breath and let the other person finish your thought. Don't jump in. Just wait till there's a lull in the conversation and then respond. It can make a big difference. And notice how it feels and how the conversation can shift to be more of um, a mutual experience. It can also enhance our compassion because active listening and compassion go hand in hand. When we listen with our whole being, we communicate that we care, we let the conversation partner know that they really matter, even if that's us communicating with ourselves. Compassion really grows when we stop trying to fix things in our conversations, in our thinking. If we just simply listen, observe, it makes a big difference. And so let me give you one more exercise that you can try when you are listening and participating in conversations, even with yourself. This is a quick exercise on reflection, practicing how to reflect back what the other person is saying. And we do it with just three words, three words. So when you're listening to someone, if they're telling you that they've had a particularly stressful day, or like over the weekend, I might hear when I was at the craft show, I'd hear what's going on with some of the other crafters and things that have been going on. You hear a lot about the weather too, and the hurricanes and the flooding and the tornadoes and things. So just listening, and instead of interjecting what I want to say or what I've heard about what's going on, just reflecting on what they have to say and let them talk, and then just respond with three words like, oh, wow, that sounds exhausting. Or I bet you were scared. Just something simple to sum it up and help deepen the conversation on their side, letting them lead, not you, or not trying to shift the conversation back on you and what you heard or what you learned. So, this is what I'd like for you to take away from this little chat is listening and active listening is really an ongoing practice. And it's sometimes something that we need to be reminded of because we tend to, especially if you know someone really well, you tend to just go back and forth and not really open the door for more profound connection. Things are more on a surface level. So this active listening can help build stronger relationships. It can have better communication with them, enhanced communication, and a greater sense of calm and focus in your life. And so, as we move forward here through the rest of the week, I invite you to try these two simple exercises. Listening without interrupting. I'm going to put these ears on so that you can remember listening without interrupting. Just keep your ears open. And then, after you've listened, summarize it with just three words. Don't start out on this long explanation of your own. Summarize what they said in three or four words before you move on to the next topic or the next sentence. it can be a little tricky sometimes, but the more you practice this, you will be able to see some real shifts and how you can simplify conversations, even tough, challenging conversations, and how you can focus more on what truly matters to you. And more importantly, well, equally important, what matters to the other person. So I'd like to know which of these two exercises are you going to try this week? Are you going to try to do some just listening without interrupting at all? Or are you going to try to do some of that reflective listening where you reflect back what you heard them saying in two or three words, four words? So I appreciate those of you who joined us today here for the spotlight. And if you want to dive deeper into some of these practices, don't forget to join us for some personalized strategy sessions in the Mind Moments community. It is a membership community that is part of this Essentials for Peace and Balance group. And we're all about helping people activate their self expansion, revealing their inner strength, and just really tapping into it and simplifying their life in meaningful ways. And I'll put the link so you can learn more about the Mind Moments community. I'll put it in the comments below or in the show notes if you're watching on YouTube. And learn more about our Mind Moments community, our Mind Moments membership. So, in summary, listen without interruptions. Just simply listen. Don't try to think about what you're going to reply with, just listen. And then that three-word reflection. And don't forget that we have these spotlight sessions on a weekly basis. And if you'd like to sign up for reminders, then I'll send you in the email a focus for our upcoming sessions. I'll send you the Zoom link, and you get a free complimentary resource each week that can help you dive even deeper into your own personal growth journey. And if you're watching us via YouTube, I'd love to invite you to join our vibrant Facebook community, Essentials for Peace and Balance, where you can connect with others and share your experiences on a regular basis. So thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next week. Bye bye.